Hello my people, FinerBub here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're talking about hiking Mount Sniktau, a 4-mile out and back day hike in Arapaho National Forest that's only an hour drive from Denver, Colorado. Throughout the video, I'll cover the basic info that I think you need to know if you plan to bag this 13er yourself, and towards the end I'll share some of my personal thoughts on the hike and who I think it's best suited for. But before we get into that, just a little tidbit for those of you who don't know. On this channel, I'm all about sharing my thoughts and experience on the best spots to check out and the best gear to bring with. So if, like me, you'd like to spend more time outside appreciating the finer things in life, do yourself a favor and consider subscribing. Also, feel free to check out the description below for links to any of the gear or hiking information resources I mention. Alrighty then, without further ado, let us begin.
I want to see mountains again! Mountains!
Last weekend, my wife Carly and I drove out to Loveland Pass to meet up with some friends for a nice Colorado day hike in Arapaho National Forest. We started our hike here, at the Grizzly Peak Trailhead on Route 6, also known as Loveland Pass Road, just off I-70. By the time we pulled up to the trailhead at around 9:30, 10 in the morning, the parking area was already completely full. Luckily, we discovered that there are actually 2 more overflow parking areas a little further down the road. Once we found a parking spot, we geared up and made the short quarter-mile walk up to the trailhead. So we're up at Loveland Pass at the trailhead. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of parking when you get here, but you can just go a little further down the road. There's a few other parking lots. Just have to walk a little further. Now we just need to figure out which side of the road we're going on. Not sure if we're going there or if we go that way. The beginning of this hike was a bit confusing since there are actually 2 trails heading out in opposite directions on either side of the road, but after a quick look at all trails, we figured out that the Grizzly Peak Trail to Mount Sniktau starts on the eastern side of the road near the National Forest sign across the street from the Continental Divide sign. The plan was to hike up the Grizzly Peak Trail until we hit the intersection at the top of the ridge, at which point we planned to take a left, switching to the Mount Sniktau Trail, also known as the Sniktau Mountain Trail, and following that to the peak before retracing our steps back to the car. The first section of the Grizzly Peak Trail is pretty steep and serves as a great warm-up for the rest of the hike. Although the distance and elevation gain don't seem too challenging when looking at the map, the high altitude starting point makes it much more strenuous and difficult, a fact that forced us to take frequent breaks for water and to simply catch our breath. Look, snow! This isn't the top. Can't be the top. Let's check the map. Oh, let's check the map. Come on. Okay, yeah. So, when you get to this pile of rocks at the top, gotta make a right. Oh no, that's a left. Your other right. Yeah, so that way it's Grizzly Peak. We are going that way. Take a left. See? Can you see that? Once you make it up to the ridgeline and turn left towards Mount Sniktau, the slope on the Mount Sniktau trail really starts to flatten out. The wind exposure, however, increases significantly up on the ridgeline, which, despite the warm sunny weather, eventually had us all layering up. The more mild slope on this section normally would have allowed us to pick up the pace, but the terrain on a lot of this section of the hike was covered in loose rock that forced us to slow down and take much more careful steps. After a little while, we hit a false peak, so we decided to hunker down behind a wind block for a snack and a water break before making our final push towards the actual peak, where we took another break before heading back down the way we came. Whew! That was fun.
Wind was a little much, but...
Oh yeah, well, as soon as I layered up, I felt a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's taken us 2 hours and 5 minutes to get to the top. 1,471 feet of elevation, 2.48 miles, but we did stop for a little while, so yeah. Good hike, good hike. Oh yeah, look at them pickles. you put mustard in it too. Which one is more full? I gotta drink out of it once so I'm balanced on both sides. So, what are my thoughts on hiking Mount Sniktau? Well, first and foremost, I was excited to bag my first 13er, and I'm not gonna lie, that was the main motivation pushing me through this hike. The view throughout the hike is nice, but the mountain itself is not all that beautiful, and if I'm being honest, it kinda just looks like a big pile of dirt. In terms of difficulty, I definitely think that hiking Mount Sniktau was more intense than the other two Colorado day hikes that I recently made videos about. Those other two hikes, up Mayflower Gulch and Mount Sniktau, felt much more like hikes that you could pull off on a whim without much preemptive thought or preparation. This hike, however, to the peak of Mount Sniktau was completely exposed, so even though we hiked it with proper gear and on a pretty mild bluebird day, we were literally getting blasted by the sun and the wind the entire time. And I can imagine that any degree of inclement weather would have made this hike significantly more dangerous due to the combination of the steep and unstable ground, mixed with the exposure to the elements, factors that will definitely raise the stakes for people who come unprepared. Can see the car on our way. So, who is this hike for? To be honest, I think that anyone with intermediate hiking experience should be fine, especially with proper gear and planning for inclement weather. But the real question is, can beginners do this hike? Well, assuming you bring proper gear, clothing, food, and water, and the weather is nice like it was for us, it will be difficult, but you can do it if you try. As I said before, this isn't the most beautiful, or the most pleasant, or the most comfortable hike I've ever done. So, I don't know if it would serve as the best sales pitch if you're introducing someone to hiking for the first time, but like I said, a beginner who's eager and motivated to bag their first 13er can definitely do it if they dress appropriately and take a mindful approach. Now look, as someone who tries to incentivize as many people as possible just to get outside and enjoy the outdoors, I'd hate to feel like I'm hindering anyone's enthusiasm, and I definitely don't want to come off like one of those purist survival hardos who scares you into thinking that you're going to die the second you step outside your door because you weren't born with all the knowledge that it took them a lifetime of experience to accumulate. But generally speaking, and especially for beginners attempting high exposure hikes like this one, it is important to be careful and to take necessary precautions. So with that in mind, here's a list of the specific gear items that I think are absolutely necessary for this day hike. First, sturdy footwear. Given the fact that on my last two Colorado day hikes, I felt that my Asolo Fugitive GTX hiking boots were kind of overkill, unfortunately, I decided to hike Mount Sniktau in trail runners. Yes, I did survive, but there were definitely more than a few hairy moments where I could have easily rolled an ankle or slipped on the loose dirt and gravel. So yeah, we've almost gone 2 miles now. Whoa! Definitely should have worn the boots on this one. Second, definitely bring a fleece and a rain shell. Aside from a few man-made wind blocks, there's absolutely no tree cover to prevent the harsh Rocky Mountain winds from chilling you to your core. Third, I got seriously sunburnt on this hike, a trend that I'm discovering is quite common at high elevations. So yeah, if you plan to attempt this day hike, definitely wear sunscreen, sunglasses, and a hat with a large brim. And lastly, I carried my trekking poles on this hike, but I might not have stumbled quite as much if I had actually had the sense to use them, especially in combination with more supportive footwear. So all that being said, I feel like I should note that this is by no means a comprehensive list of everything that you should bring on a day hike. For that, you'll have to check out my video on all of the gear that I bring on a day hike. But yeah, those are just a few gear items that I think will definitely balance out the challenges that I personally faced when hiking Mount Sniktau. Alright, we're getting there. That's where we parked. Trudging on down. Yeah, so this is a pretty easy hike. It's very steep in the beginning, so you get winded pretty quickly, but it's a good warm up, and yeah, it just gets you going for the rest of the hike. And yeah, epic views all around. No complaints. Definitely come check it out. Mount Sniktau. You can call it Mount Snickers. It's easy to remember. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be a few more clips before the video ends, but thanks for watching. All in all, despite the slightly more difficult terrain, a sunburn, and a poor choice of footwear, we had a fun time, and I'm thrilled to have hiked my first Colorado 13er, especially with good company. Do I look better on this side or on this side? Gotta look pretty. Attract the new viewers, you know? Oh, almost down to the bottom. Man, I am beat. It's like these hikes, they don't look like much on the map, but the altitude just really takes it out of you. Oh. Anyway, getting there. Pretty sure that the trailhead is just over this little hump right here. Yeah, you can see that's where we parked, right down there. So definitely a good hike, definitely worth checking out. And it was my first 13er, so that's pretty dope. Pretty excited about that. Being outside, man. One day, this channel will make enough money so that I can hire an editor and not sit in front of the computer most of the time, but what are you gonna do? Just like and subscribe, and I'll get there faster. Share it with your friends, if you please. I would greatly appreciate it. That is my goal in life, to only be filming these things and not editing them or doing any of the computer stuff, but you know, gotta put in the work, Alrighty, my people, that concludes today's episode of the FinerBub Show. If you've already hiked the Sniktau mountain trail, or if you have any questions about the hike or suggestions for where I should go next, I'd love to have you comment below, especially if you think your insight can help me disprove something that I think I already know. But before you do, I just want to once again thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're planning your next trip or looking for new gear, don't let the small details stress you out. Remember, life's an adventure, so relax, breathe in the outdoors, and don't forget to appreciate the finer things. See you out there, people. Peace. Yeah. First. Yes.